Hello, everybody. My name is Leslie Raymond. I direct Ann Arbor Film Festival. It is amazing to see this big crowd here this afternoon for Films in Competition 6. This is our 35 and 16 millimeter program. The first thing I want to do is thank Jim Pike up in the booth there. As well as Frank Uhle, who I think is up there. The Michigan Theater is undergoing some construction right now, so we don't have access to their 35. And it's thanks to these guys that we're able to find this venue. And so excited to see everyone. Okay, so thank you to our sponsor, the University of Michigan Department of Film, Television, and Media. Thank you to our donors. Thank you to our donors, David DeVarti and Ellen Rabinowitz, and to our community partner, the Goodman Gallery. Now, I am going to introduce the person who will really be introducing this program and welcoming the filmmakers and doing a Q&A at the end. The person I'm going to introduce is somebody who's been central and very important to the festival since the very beginning. Way back in the day when the festival took place in the old A&D Auditorium in Lord's Hall. I see some power fists, yes. He started supporting the Ann Arbor Film Festival since the very first year. And Dominic and his wife Alice are no longer with us, although they are memorialized in the Prix DeVarti, which is one of the awards that we award for the funniest film in the festival. However, their sons carry on. Rich DeVarti runs the restaurant, and Dave DeVarti does all kinds of amazing things around town, including he had been a board member of the Ann Arbor Film Festival. He's still part of our membership committee, and just a good friend of mine, and he's here to introduce the program. Dave.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Years ago, 45 years ago, I would introduce films for Alternative Action Film Group, which was a campus film group in what was then the NatSci Auditorium, and all the seats were like really uncomfortable wooden seats with no cushion or anything. So it's a treat for me to be back. 5 35 millimeter and 2 16 millimeter films, and just. Of how important it is to work in this sort of medium of celluloid film, how important it is to filmmakers. Filmmakers here, Ben Balcom, Kimberly Forero-Arnías. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. Philip Hoffman, Kathleen Rugh, Kevin Steen, Milja, Viita, and Anthony Ng. So get questions ready as you watch the films. The program includes a couple or 3 films that are having a North American premiere today. Recortes by Kimberly Forero-Arnías, Deep One by Philip Hoffman, Daron, Colbert by Kevin Edward Steen. We're changing reels and from 16 to 35 millimeter in the projection booth, so be patient if there's a little bit of time between movies. Thank you.
I shot at the river, I would rewind and shoot again, and so all of that layering was captured in camera, and that really, like, working with the materiality of the film and thinking about layering different perspectives in one is really what inspired the piece. So it was kind of crucial that I shot it on film in that method.
Hi, Philip Hoffman, Deep One. I work out of buckets, so we're processing film with flowers, hyacinth and lichen in this situation, and it's the same thing, the material aspect of it, getting your hands on the celluloid is a really important thing for me. It's also a hybrid film because it came back through digital, back to film in this case. So I'm not afraid to deal with hybrid. It does look different, but I think I'm happy to embrace the digital age and not sort of be a purist in terms of film, but I love celluloid still.
So I'm Milja Viita, and my film was Bambi. And yeah, I'm also a filmmaker who loves celluloid. I'm shooting all my films in a real film. But especially when I'm talking about Bambi, it was my curiosity on the towards of the film itself. So my first intention was to make like DNA research on the celluloid. So I see that as like a pathological kind of a research on this, or pathological study on this material, and this cinematic kind of a experience that we are like sharing in these theatres. It has this material kind of like a base, even though the film, the piece itself feels like immaterial. So that was behind that choice here.
When Daron and I met 6 years ago, I was started filming on 16mm. When we first met, I was filming the cat, and after we spent time together and kind of developed this movie world, we really wanted to shoot on 35, and we just liked the contrast of the high 8 audition tape and then this film that is Daron's life. And then this was really special because we got to print the high 8 back to 35, and it was our first time seeing it tonight, so it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, my film is Anatomy. My film is still uncredited. I think there is a digital version of my film as well, but I think the reason I wanted to do it, a reel of it, was because I wanted to make Jill kind of the star of her own film, and she retired around the same time that they stopped showing kind of real films in cinemas regularly, I suppose, in the early noughties. And yeah, so I thought it would be fitting.
I'm Kim. My film was the last film, recortes. I'm maybe like somewhere between a mix of what everyone said, like no particular reason, I just like it. It's really important to my process and it has to be on film. And I like hybrid. It's this film, as every time I work on film, it's a mix. So sometimes it's like optical printer film, sometimes it's an Oxbury film, sometimes I've done like just straight 16 inside just the camera. This one is my first digital out, but I did shoot a lot of it on film on 16mm, and I think it's just, I don't know, why does someone paint in oil versus watercolor?
Right, exactly, right.
I really like film.
Give a big hand to all the up to any questions. If I'll call on people. I've got it.
I have one for Daron. How's it feel to see yourself in the big screen?
I think it feels pretty good being up here. We had the world premiere at Locarno Film Festival in Switzerland. Being here is kind of special because it gets to play in our hometown, basically. So we got a lot of our friends and family here. Also, this is our first time, as Kevin said, that we got to see it in actual film. So yeah, this feels pretty good being up here.
That's great. Congratulations.
first of all, I mean, I just have to say what incredible work this is from all the filmmakers. This is really, I think, one of the strongest sports programs that I can remember. So a big congrats. All these films were imbued with this very profound sense of place and of historical thought. And so I'm wondering if each of you can speak to the research and preparation behind the film and how much or how little, whether it was spur of the moment or whether it was deeply considered or what, where in that, and how that influenced the final product.
So I'm just going to pass this down, and each one can give a go at this or not. Thank you very much. So what kind of research and background to go into the film that you made?
Research. So part of it was just family research. So checking in with my family about plants that they remember on a farm that they grew up on, and finding ways for them to write that down or draw it from memory or share it and hold it as this is a piece of research. I sort of was thinking of it like a field journal almost, and then that got me researching actual field journals of different colonial ventures into Colombia, and I started reading some. So those are some of the images at the beginning, and thinking about that relationship to place and writing. And so it's sort of a mix of those two spaces, and then along with my own reflection of my current environment and relationship to place.
When I met with Jill, she gave me a list of all the jobs she's worked since 2000, and I mean the research was a huge aspect of the project. It was I spent years just sourcing everything in the best available quality, and then literally looking for her. And then building that into kind of an organized, database on the edit kind of thing, a searchable kind of library, and then use that basically to eventually make film.
I started out spending a bunch of time down in Delray and met Daron, and I would say it started about the place, but it just became about the person at the end, and the environment around him and the history of Delray surrounds him, but kind of the research just came as we went along.
Yeah, I started to work with Bambi about maybe 6 years ago, when I got this few meters of this original Bambi print, and then maybe the whole process was kind of based on the research, even though it's more like a visual kind of a thing. But I did really try to find out some DNA of it, but then I was really fascinated by the possibilities what I could have with the film. So I took some material to electroscanning microscope, which are the line is an abstract image that is scanning down like this. So that's like a 40,000 kind of enlargement on one scratch on the film. So that was. So it was like this kind of a visual, like a kind of journey. So yeah, and that was shot on Super 8. So because I also wanted to see the grains really, to get really to feel them in a body almost. So that was shot on Super 8 and then enlarged to 35mm in a lift in Toronto. Yeah, and it's all hand processed. But yeah, but it was this kind of each step took me somewhere, and then the next step, then I just somehow needed to maybe figure out what I was going to do next. But yeah, Hill.
it's, I guess, 60 years of research, but it's not really funny. I think, well, it is fun. It is fun, but what I'm trying to say is it's a competing word, research, for me. It's competing with the idea of process cinema, which is you don't have scripts and you don't really do research. You kind of work with the camera and the film stocks and things start to happen. And like the end of Deep One, where it sort of turns into Milky Way, that's a total accident. I mean, I left it in the hyacinth wash for 2 weeks because I forgot about it, and that's what happened. So I sort of have always trusted that. And if you don't have scripts, then you don't have to worry about finding an order for something. You just collect, and gradually things sort of find their way into the film and find their order. So, so research is a tricky. I know what you mean. I guess there's research in flowers, using different flowers. And now I'll go the other way. Using different flowers for processing, you get different types of color and different types of scratches with different flowers. So, yeah, that becomes sort of intuitive knowledge after a while. Yeah, thanks.
I think mine is, the place is very significant, but it didn't really require research. It's a place that I used to visit regularly for vacations, and I had filmed there before, and so it was a place that felt very special to me, but I hadn't been there in a very long time. And so I had a trip to go back, and I knew that I wanted to try to capture it at a very special time of day. So I woke up like 5 in the morning, went right out with my camera. And so it was a place that was familiar to me, but revisited in a different way. So again, place is significant, but I didn't have to research it. It was a place that was like, from my past, had a significance for me.
Thank you for your question. So I think as the horizon for liberation continues to feel so far away, one thing we can do is focus our attention on radical experiments in democracy from the past and look for models and examples. Black Mountain College, albeit deeply flawed, is one of those. And I attended a college that was modeled after that school. I also teach at a public institution that was once based or built upon progressive ideas of education available for all. And I think, not to impose some additional meaning on my film, but in the wake of DeSantis restructuring the new college in Florida, thinking about real, accessible, egalitarian education is really meaningful. So yeah, Black Mountain College has just been an institution that's really excited me for a long time, including the school itself and the poets and artists that issued forth from that kind of historical moment. Over here.
Thank you. This question for Mr. Hoffman. Did you have layers of films that were? It has an effect visually of being in layers, that were superimposed. But it wasn't, right? And also, these are formal, but if you would talk about why you didn't put a soundtrack. I'm just interested. I loved it without a soundtrack.
Sure.
But I'd just like to hear you speak.
Yeah, you're looking at the surface of the film, with the scratches, so it creates a strange, almost 3D effect at times, especially when the background goes out of focus and then it comes back in, that kind of thing. I learned that through my first flower-based film, Vulture, which I showed here a number of years back. And I was excited by that sort of visual aspect of working with scratches on the film. So no, there's no superimpositions in this film. Well, the film sort of starts off with a meditation. That's very interesting when the doors keep slamming. But if anyone's meditated, you know that you always wake up out of your meditation every, for me, 15 seconds. So I, this is one of the possibilities with film, because you can, you know, especially in a theater, concentrate on the screen and the silence. You know, yeah, it is like a meditation. It's, I mean, I guess I'm just repeating myself. There's someone coughs or whatever, but you have to kind of keep focused on the center of the screen.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Right here, Jerry.
Yeah, again, for Phil, while you got the mic, you know, if people aren't aware of this gentleman's film farm, you should check it out. It's quite amazing. I was able to attend, and it's like a summer camp for filmmakers to process film in a barn in buckets. And I salute you for all the years you've done that, and everybody should do it. But I learned a word recently called biomimicry. It's where humans mimic animals or nature. So we look at beavers building a dam and we go, hey, we can do that. So I'm curious how biomimicry operates with you, because you're taking plants and applying them to an invention by humans, cinema, the Bolex. But how does it work in reverse in that you're actually, there's biomimicry involved in process cinema? How is that?
It's that, I think it's like process cinema, the idea to me is that it's the world is a companion in the making of the film. So when things happen in the world, you don't just throw them out because they're part of the film team. So I think it's the same with plants. I mean, I think it's, and you know, we can start with animals that, you know, we kind of time to give animals some power. So we can also give plants some power. And there's something nice about having a garden. Everyone knows who has a garden. You know, you tend it, but you don't, like, controlling it is something I'm trying not to do. Like if it wants to go that way, let it go that way. You start to see how the sun, where it comes up, is starting to control or be part of this sort of symphony of all these effects on your garden. But the garden isn't something to control. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to, we're moving along in time, I'd like to call it a night here as a group. I want to thank all of the filmmakers, the actor, the other natural film process film team members, and the audience. A big hand for the